How's it going, everyone? I'm Sir James, coming at you guys with another custom lightsaber review. This time I'm going to be reviewing the Youngling lightsaber, which is made by TXQ and was obtained through CCSabers. If you are interested in this hilt or anything CCSabers tends to offer, I'll have a link to his website along with my very own discount code that you can use as well. Anytime that you use my discount codes in these videos, you are supporting the channel in some way, shape, or form, because not only are you getting a discount, but you're also helping me be able to save and provide another saber review here on the channel as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. So unlike my past reviews, where a lot of my saber reviews tends to be of the Profi installed variations of the lightsabers, this particular one is the SN Pixel 4. So a little bit different from what I'm more accustomed to. So if there's some features that I may have missed in this review, I do apologize ahead of time, and I want to try to do my best to showcase at least what I could remember after looking over the manual before making this video. So let's go ahead and start by giving you guys a closer look of the hilts, and we'll pretty much go from there. So here is a closer look at the hilt from a distance. Now, of course, some people might already get a little bit of a Darth Maul vibe, especially from the emitter section. But this is based off the Jedi training sabers that younglings would use in the temple before they get to the age where they're able to get their own kyber crystals and, of course, build their own unique sabers as well. So you may have seen plastic variations of this design over in the Disney parks, and I believe they also have the same plastic ones over at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been a while since I've been, so I can't confirm that at the moment. Now, I will mention that by default, there's actually no D-ring attached. In fact, there's no way to clip it onto a belt. This is something that I personally added, which we'll get to in just a moment. But as far as the hilt goes, this is a 2-button setup. You have your main button here and secondary button here. If you need access to the internals to go ahead and charge it, you're just going to go ahead and unscrew this bottom section as mentioned. And this will slide out. It's a little bit more of a snug fit compared to some of the past hilts. But over here you do have a USB-C charging cable. If you wish to remove the rest of the chassis, there is an additional screw over here towards the center that you will need to remove first before you can slide everything else. And of course there is access to the SD card as well. Very easy, so you don't really have to remove it unless if for some reason that you need to change this battery. That's really about it, but you can just charge it straight like that and you're good to go. And to reconnect it, you just slide the pieces back in. Like I said, it's pretty snug. And screw the parts in until you are fully secured and ready to go. As far as this section here, like I said, I did add this D-ring. Now, of course, my method right now is not technically the best because I just kind of used what I had at the moment to demonstrate that if you wanted to add a D-ring, it is simple. Because if you look inside here, there's a lot of gap between the speaker vents and where the speaker is inside the hilt, which means that if you have a method, like I said, this is not the most recommended way. This is just a way to hold the screw in place until I can go to Home Depot, of course. But like I said, you can literally add a D-ring on here if you wish to do so, to the point where it's not going to be in the way of the speaker. And of course, it's not going to go get in the way with sound ventilation, and it works very well. So that's just kind of an optional thing. But other than that, everything else that I'm showcasing on the hilt, besides the one modification that I did, is pretty much by default out of the box, meaning I did not change any saber fonts or anything out of the ordinary. So with that out of the way, there's actually one little detail that I almost forgot to mention. It's basically this section right here. You see these little round bits here that stick out. I will mention that these actually become loose extremely easy because these are just like little nubs that screw into place. So if you wish to avoid any issues, I would highly recommend unscrewing them, ensuring that they are not in some way, shape, or form connecting to the chassis. If they are not, then maybe just a little dab of glue as you reconnect these to prevent these pieces from becoming loose and accidentally going missing would be my only advice with this hilt at the moment. But other than that, let's go ahead and try to remember most of the settings because there's a little bit of a lot here to go over. So first off, if you wish to power on the saber, you are going to need to hold the power button until you hear
power on,
the power on sound. And then of course from there is where you have all your additional functions. Alright, now that the blade is fully secured, we are ready to go. Now as far as the blade retention screws, there are a total of 3 sections. Your first one is going to be in this upper section, and then the other 2 are going to be in the lower areas, one here and one directly on the other side for a total of 3 secure points. Now, also with this hilt, there is an optional thing that you can use. It's not necessary. Keep in mind, this is completely optional, but you could also, believe it or not, use an app and connect it with your phone for some additional functions, which I'll showcase a little bit later on some maybe the more useful things that someone might want to use. So before we get to the whole phone portion, which again is 100% optional, let's go ahead and go over the functions, right off the bat using the hilt. Now, some of the functions when the saber is on but the blade is not active, you'll have access to, and other ones is when the blade is fully active, or you have other stuff such as lockup effects, blaster effects, color changing mode, and so forth. So when before we actually ignite the blade, there are gesture controls that are also pre-included. Things like twist on, twist off, swing on, back to twist off, or you can go ahead and simply, if you don't like gesture controls, just push the button. As simple as that. Now, when the blade is off, if you hold the upper button, like so,
ignition 2,
you will hear an audio sound, and that indicated ignition 2. In fact, do that. So every time you hold down the upper power button while the saber is not lit, it's actually going to cycle through different ignitions that you can use. So try to do it as best as I can, especially using the reflection of the arcade here. And there's like 12 or 14 ignitions, so I'll try to cycle through those really quick here.
ignition 3,
Ignition 3. If you are someone that's sensitive to strobe effects, I would probably advise not using Ignition 3, just so you are aware.
ignition 4,
Ignition number 4.
ignition 5,
Number 5.
ignition 6,
Number 6.
ignition 7,
Number 7. That one would be Ignition 7 is more of the Ray version, if you listen closely. And I don't know how well you'll be able to see the effect right down here from the emitter. So you kind of saw that little glow effect like the ignition. So that's like more of the Ray one.
ignition 8,
Number 8.
ignition 9,
Number 9. Oop. The whole stacking.
ignition 10,
So this is now number 10. Like I said, there's a lot on here. And it sounds like that one's going, oh my, and then... Next up.
Ignition 11.
Number 11.
Ignition 1.
And we're back to ignition 1, which is default. Now let me go ahead and switch to a different font because there's also different fonts on here.
Reborn. The Butcher. Temple Guard.
Temple Guard there. Let's see. Let's pick a different
Star
one.
Killer.
Star Killer. There you go. There, something a little bit more nicer in terms of sound quality wise. So, like I said, before the saber is on, holding up the power button will basically allow us to change from multiple different ignition types, assuming if you want to use this. Again, those are completely optional, built into the hilts. Holding down the bottom button.
Music 4.
Now this one is different. Holding down the bottom button will kind of give you a different blade effect. So the first one was just effects in terms of what happens when you boot up the saber. The other one will determine what the blade's doing. So there's multiples of these ones. So this one, you got the whole like RGB effect of the blade going on here. And again, this one we're holding down the second button.
Music 5.
This one's number 5. I believe this one is a strobe effect, so I would probably advise against this one. Yeah, that one's not the most pleasant one.
Music 6.
Number 6. I don't know if you guys could see it or not. There you go. If you look in the reflection of the arcade cabinet, this one's got like little effects going down the blade, like if it's raindrops hitting it. So that one's pretty neat.
Music 7.
Number 7. So that whole weird effect.
Music 8.
Number 8. This one's kind of cool. See if you guys could see that. There's like 3 colors going on that's kind of cycling through. It's pretty neat. I like it.
Music 9.
Number 9. Okay, so the one that I said that would be the rain effect, number 9 is the rain effect. So if you look there, that's like the raindrops hitting the blade. So ignore the previous statement that I said.
Music 1.
And number 1. This one's kind of like the unstable blade effect.
Music 2.
Number 2. Number 2 is just static. There's no effect, nothing, just, you know, the light igniting, that is it. And then number 3.
Music 3.
Number 3 would be more of like your classic Star Wars, where the blade is ignited and there's a slight little fade effect to it, ever so slightly, a little pulse, if you will. So that's pretty much all that. Like I said, you can change the startup function and you can change what the blade is going to do with those functions. So let's go ahead and get to the other stuff here.
Ventress.
There we go. So now I have Ventress here. In fact, let me change the effect.
Music 2.
There you go. Now, if you want to go ahead and change the colors, if I remember correctly, it's down and then holding the, I think, second button and twist. There you go.
Color switch. Color switch. Color switch. Color switch. Color switch. Color switch.
So yeah, go off here. So when the blade is on and you're holding it down and pressing and holding that secondary button and twisting the blade will switch the colors, and that's how you basically do that. I believe also when the blade is off like so, I believe this is how you activate the music. Copyright, of course. So if you want to activate the music tracks, same method, but this time instead of the blade being activated while it's off, holding it down, pressing and holding that secondary button and twisting will activate the music track. While the saber is on, you'll be able to cycle through color changing. And yes, you could also have the music enabled while the blade is on as well, like so. Copyright. So yes, you could also listen to your music while also having the blade active as well. Now next up is you also have your blaster effect, as in if you're deflecting blasters. There's also a lockup effect. This one's a little bit of a weird one, because for this one you hold down the second button and then let go. And then you press it again to deactivate it. That one's not really the best, to be honest, but it's there. And I don't know if there's tip drag. If there is, I don't know how to activate it on top of my head. But that's pretty much a lot of the core ways of using it as far as my knowledge. I believe there's also a volume setting that you could also activate as well. I don't remember how to do that one. I just know that the blade, I believe, doesn't have to be activated or so. But anyways, let's go ahead and showcase the app. Now, mind you that when it comes to the app with your mobile devices, the app is 100% optional. You do not have to use the app to use the saber at all. So if you don't want to use the app, you're good to go. If you wish to use it, well, I just want to show you what some of your options are. Let's go ahead and put this, let's see here. All right. Chopper, I'm counting on you to hold that, so hopefully Chopper doesn't knock it over. So let me go ahead and get to this. And I don't know if this is the correct app or not, but it's called Force Park.
Connected.
So you heard it say connected, so right now it's connected, and it's going to be connecting through the Bluetooth option. But if we go in the control setting, we have a lot of different settings here, from power, lockup, drag, and so forth. But you also have your volume control, so if you don't remember how to do it like me, then you can go and use like this. So let's go ahead and power the saber on. Oh, it's like I'm using the force. Whoa, you could trick your friends with that one, right? But you could control the volume. I'm now on 1. I'm basically 1 away from being muted. And like I said, all that is right there. You also have your light effect, ignition effect, post on and off. The other useful one here, actually, you know what? Let's go back here and lower the volume a little bit more. There's the set patterns. What's cool about this one is that if you're like my situation and you're not using the blade it came with, and you're maybe using a smaller blade, there's an option here where you can go ahead and change the length of your blade. There's also the twist sensitivity. If you don't like the gesture controls, you can disable them in the option here. And all that is really, really good. And anytime you select an option, you're just going to go ahead and click sure, and you are essentially good to go. And there's also like a color palette that you can mess with too. Just pick a color, and then you're good with that one. And that's pretty much the app as far as the basic functions. So yeah, that's pretty much the app. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to use your phone, but there is some useful stuff there as well that I think some of you might want to take advantage of as well, especially if you want to use the whole bit to trick your friends and pretending like you're using the Force to turn on your saber without them knowing that you have it connected to your phone. Could be some little fun bits here and there for your like Instagram or TikToks or something like that, whatever it is the kids are into these days. I say that because I'm going to be turning 34 at the end of the month. Crazy to think about it, right? Yeah, before we actually kind of wrap things up, the last thing that I wanted to showcase or, run by really quick is all the installed Saber fonts that are pre-included, which, by the way, if you also wanted to change any of the Saber fonts, maybe add your own, maybe you bought some, changing the Saber fonts are pretty easy. Like I said, highly recommend checking the manual, but it's pretty straightforward and it's not complicated as it sounds. Like I said, Profi can be intimidating, especially if you're not very good with programming and coding and stuff like that. Can be a pain. I struggle with it a lot, but it's still my favorite. But here, very easy to do. But as far as fonts, here is what you get all included with the package.
Leia.
Alright, so keep note that we're at Leia right now. So once we get back to Leia, that's how many fonts on here. So
To the cord.
that's 2,
Prepare a boarding party.
3,
Suka.
4,
Anakin.
5,
Ayla Sakura.
6,
Dababalaba.
7,
Kenobi.
8,
Count Dooku.
9,
Dark Sith Red.
10, 11,
Cal Kestis.
12,
Yoda.
13,
Ray Skywalker.
14,
Ben!
15,
I am the Inquisitor.
16,
Tell me, is this training?
17,
Master Windu.
18,
I am told it is the Dark
19,
Master Money.
20,
General Kenobi.
21,
Quinlan, pause.
22,
Reborn.
23,
The Butcher.
24,
Temple Guard.
25,
Star Killer.
26,
Ventress.
27.
Leia.
So 27 Saber fonts pre-included. So a pretty good package deal in my opinion. So other than that, as far as how does the Hilt, I forgot it had the whole, because in Profi I don't really have the swing on enabled, which I could just go to the phone and disable that entirely right now. But as far as how does it feel in the hand, it feels great. Like I said, the one little nitpick issue that I have is these little screw nubs here in the center. My best advice is to glue this in place, assuming that it's not connecting to the board, so I would highly recommend you double check. But other than that, it's a fun one. Like I said, if you're wanting to get a custom lightsaber, but you're intimidated by the whole Profi programming, I think this is a nice way to kind of ease into it, because you got a lot of features in there. Easy to use, easy to access. You got music tracks, over 20 saber fonts. You got pre-programmed pre-on effects or saber effects, and gesture controls, and of course it's a NeoPixel blade still as well, so it's a pretty good deal. In fact, I don't believe this saber costs that much more than building a lightsaber from, let's say, Sabi's workshop over at the Disney parks. But other than that, let me know what you guys think about this lightsaber in the comment section down below. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys look forward to my next review. Until then, always remember, may the Force be with you.